Good morning and thank you for being here. My name is Claire Celsi. I'm a state senator of District 21, which is West Des Moines and Des Moines. I have some of my colleagues here that I'd like to introduce briefly. Senator Jackie Smith from Sioux City is here. Senator Joe Bolcom from Iowa City is here. And Representative Beth Wessels-Krischel is here from Ames. Thank you for being here. I have two speakers that will shortly follow my remarks that I'll introduce when I get to that point. Okay, Iowa, I hate to break it to you, we're not number one. We have a number of intractable problems that need our attention. A constitutional amendment that would exclude the right of women to have an abortion would be a distraction from those problems. If passed by both the Iowa House and Senate in this General Assembly and the next General Assembly, then approved by Iowa voters, the amendment would ensure that abortion rights would not be protected under the Iowa Constitution. And if Roe v. Wade is repealed by that time, the Iowa legislature and governor would be free to pass a law banning or severely restricting abortion. We would join Tennessee, West Virginia, and Alabama in altering our Constitution to take away rights from people. Historically, the Iowa Constitution has only changed to confer additional rights, not take them away. The Republican war on women continues here in Iowa. Now back to Iowa's actual problems. I ask my Republican colleagues sincerely to help us solve these issues. Iowa has a child care affordability crisis. We need to solve that problem this year. I'm asking the Republicans to please help Democrats pass proposed legislation to fix the child care cliff and make sure that families have safe, affordable, and available child care. Iowa has a K-12 and Regents University's funding problem. Years of underfunding and reckless gutting of collective bargaining has left our schools scraping by and our universities raising tuition year after year. The dream of a college education is slipping away for many low to moderate income kids. I'm asking the Republicans to please help Democrats pass a funding appropriation that is a true investment in our kids' future. Iowa has a serious women's health care problem. Our once successful family planning network is a mess, and women all around the state are scrambling to find health care and birth control. Republicans gutted its funding after lying to Iowans that there were plenty of places to obtain this care. I'm asking that Republicans please help Democrats restore funding to Iowa's family planning network, including Planned Parenthood. It is appalling that Iowa's rural maternity wards are closing at an alarming rate. We should find a solution to make it safer for Iowa women to give birth near where they live, instead of making a risky drive to an urban center. Republicans are introducing frivolous and dangerous bills that would hurt Iowans and take us back in time. From unlimited fireworks to wrecking the bottle bill to increasingly reckless gun laws. These proposals are not making Iowa safer for our children or a more attractive place to settle down and raise a family. I urge my Republican colleagues in the Senate to please stop this constitutional amendment from going forward and to work together with your colleagues to solve the real problems that Iowans face. Now I'd like to introduce our first speaker, and these speakers both will be brief, they promise me. Isabel Barrett is a concerned Iowan that would like to share a story.
My grandmother is 84 years old, which means she grew up and began to start a family before abortion was legal. I knew she had struggled with fertility and at one point had a traumatic experience in which the fetus rotted away inside her. But it was illegal for her to have the procedure to remove it because it was considered an abortion. I asked her if she would write down her story so I could share it with others who are still illogically anti-choice and trying once again to take away our rights. Here is her story as she told it to me. Early in 1968, I became pregnant and we were overjoyed. Married 8 years, we had lost one baby through an early miscarriage. 4 months into the pregnancy, the OB said he could not detect a heartbeat. I went for a second opinion, and this OB said he detected a heartbeat but insisted I catch up on all my shots, including tetanus. After about a month, he also said there was no heartbeat and no movement, now in the middle of month 5. I was in large and maternity clothes. I almost lost my mind knowing our baby was dead and dealing with the early shower presents that were given early in June by staff where I taught, and people asking constantly when the birth date was. Nothing could be done because it would have been illegal. Finally, in the middle of September, on my way to a favorite aunt's funeral in Sioux Falls, I began to hemorrhage. My husband met my parents and I in Mankato to go to a hospital where they performed an abortion, D&C. The procedure was legal because she was miscarrying. The baby was so decomposed, it was impossible to tell if it was a boy or girl. I'm going to say that one more time. The baby was so decomposed, it was impossible to tell if it was a boy or a girl. I almost lost my mind that summer. By taking 3 months of birth control, when the OB said sometimes that led to conception when it stopped, I did miraculously become pregnant again, even though I rarely ovulated. Another 7.5 months of psychologically being terrified it would happen again. They gave me holding shots through month 7 to prevent a miscarriage and later found it caused all kinds of problems in the female children. This experience made me fully pro-choice. I never want another woman to have the same experience, and as soon as abortion is not allowed, no matter what the situation, everything is viewed in black and white, and it is just plain wrong. Betty Lou Wassett wanted many, many children. She told me she had had 3 wanted pregnancies, but 1 baby. During the nightmare I just spoke of, she miscarried near her due date. Betty Lou became pro-choice without any conditions, because she knew how different each story is. The Republicans' anti-choice platform and attacks are not normal and certainly not sane. So I speak to you, senators and representatives, and I am one of many Iowans telling you that what you're attempting to do is not normal. Being pro-choice is normal. Needing an abortion is normal. Getting an abortion is normal. Making other people's choices for them is not normal. Inserting yourselves into people's private lives like this is not normal. Making people do life-changing things like having a child they didn't plan to is not normal. And forcing people to carry pregnancies to term regardless of what they want is sick and violent. Senators and representatives, how dare you disrespect your constituents like this? How dare you disrespect your mothers and grandmothers like this? How dare you disrespect my grandmother like this? How dare you waste our time and tax dollars on this ridiculous, violent nonsense instead of the myriad of real problems facing our state? Being pro-life is not about saving lives. We've seen what your legislation does to people's lives. It is about wanting to control bodies. It is about wanting to make people's choices for them. You know who else thinks it's okay to make people's bodily choices for them? Rapists and rape apologists. And don't try to tell me there isn't a connection here. Your crazy anti-choice ideology is about controlling bodies. Don't you dare insult our intelligence by telling us otherwise. John Wesley said, do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as you ever can. Being in office as a public servant is an honor and a privilege. Use it to do good. This is neither good nor Christ-like.
Thank you, Isabel. Next, I would like to introduce Chelsea Chism-Vargas. She's the Iowa Outreach Coordinator from NARAL Pro-Choice America. Chelsea.
Thank you, Senator. Just over 2 weeks ago, Chief District Court Judge Michael D. Hupert struck down the 6-week abortion ban on the anniversary of Roe v. Wade. For a moment, young women like myself let out a sigh of relief and a celebratory roar all at once. But that feeling was short-lived, because as always, Iowa Senate Republicans had a new plan to control women. With the proposal of the constitutional amendment, Senate Joint Resolution 9, Iowa Senate Republicans are determined to strip away a person's right to access a safe, legal abortion in the state of Iowa. Since their last attempt at this was unlawful, they've decided to amend our state's constitution entirely. I, Chelsea Chism-Vargas, stand here today as a young woman resident of Des Moines, and an organizer for NARAL Pro-Choice Iowa, to say we are tired and disturbed by your obsession with controlling our bodies. Instead of introducing legislation to push for equal pay or workplace accommodations for pregnant people, we see more ideas on how to regulate a woman's body and thus control her future. This is not an issue of morality, as some like to claim. I'm a proud Catholic, and I know my values are rooted in full service of others without judgment. Our legislators should be in service of our best interests, period. Since Republicans want to begin yet another lengthy, hateful process of denying Iowa women and families of life-saving abortion access and reproductive health care, I'm here to let you know we will never back down from fighting for our rights to control our own destinies. Denying abortion access is an act of coercion against women. And NARAL and our members will do everything we can to fight for and protect Iowans against the GOP's harmful agenda.
Is there any questions?
Isabel, where are you from and where was your grandmother from?
Crystal, Minnesota.
You're from Crystal, Minnesota?
Both of us are.
What's the Iowa connection?
I came here for school, and I've lived here for about 3.5 years.
Okay. Are you a Drake student?
I was, yes.
Okay.
So you
live here now?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? I guess since this is my first day on this coverage, does your fight stand a chance?
I guess we'll see. If it goes anything like it did last year, the votes, they have the votes, and they have the governor's support. So I'm just hoping that we can convince enough of their colleagues to see the light and not go through this process.
What does that convincing look like? This
One-to-one conversations. That's usually how things happen. Yep.
Since this is a constitutional amendment, it ultimately would have to go to voters. I guess if it gets to that point, you know, is there statewide outreach you'd want to do to try to convince them
Absolutely.
to reject this? Because ultimately it's in their hands.
Absolutely. Chelsea could probably speak to NARAL's outreach, but I know Planned Parenthood would be helping with that outreach. And I know that there are many advocates throughout the state that would be doing that as well. Volunteer advocates, some of whom are here today. So I think polls show, you know, and you guys all know this, polls show that Iowans support, a majority of Iowans support the right to a safe legal abortion, and really thought that the 6-week ban and the 72-hour waiting period went too far in restricting abortion rights. So if that sentiment holds this year, then we should see it be defeated at the ballot box. But my hope is that we don't get that far.
I was going to say, do you think that it would actually get to the point where the public would vote?
It depends on the composition of the legislature in 2020, is my guess.
is a battle every year. Talk a little bit about the emotion or reaction to having to go through this every single year.
Yeah, it's exhausting for women, and I think you probably noted that. To have to, you know, fire up the opposition year after year after year. If anything, there's only one good thing about this, and that is that this fight has reactivated a whole new generation of women who now realize that our rights that we thought we had won over 40 years ago are in jeopardy again, and has activated them to do more to fight this. Okay, thank you guys for being here today.